Over the years, perhaps the initial assumption and association that comes to our mind when we think of community is people. That people essentially are what makes a community, and in turn, the community can help us identify our identity or perhaps even our sense of purpose in life. The post-human community, however, enlightens us to view the definition of community from a different perspective, one that leads to suggest that perhaps community is not necessarily just made up of people, but rather that people are in fact an agent within all the encompassing factors of a community. A post-human one emphasizes that we are able to think of ourselves as an open notion of evolution, for example, through technology as a cyborg. For instance, a human being that needs a piece of technology to survive, such as a pacemaker, shows how technology can intertwine and impact the survival of human being as well as being an extension of it. Ecology, as part of the notion of Anthropocene, is the idea that the human is not disconnected from the biosphere, from the deep root systems of trees to the ocean trenches, rainforest, and high mountain tops. Here we can connect the notion of Darwin's adaptation, that our species is as such because we have also adapted to human Earth, and in turn humanity and our habits have impacted the Earth. Posthumanism is a movement in which the human is a plural notion, for which there is not only one type, for example, of categories of class, race, or nationality. For instance, in the past and even today, some humans are considered as objects of property of other humans, hence being considered less. Anthropocene may help us to identify the need to decentralize the human from the focus of the discourse. Human is not necessarily the center of everything. Donna Haraway claims that our post-human future will be a time when species meet and when humans finally make room for non-human things within the scope of our moral concern.
So the next topic is the topic of hashtag communities. According to Oxford Dictionary, the hashtag is defined as a word or phrase preceded by a hash sign, which is two vertical lines intercepting two horizontal lines, which is used on social media websites and applications to identify messages on a specific topic. It can be argued that hashtags are the clearest symbol for social media to such an extent that it has intercepted traditional cultures and languages today. Hashtags create the prerequisites for a community within cyberspace. These communities are centered around a specific topic determined by the name of the hashtag. This, in turn, is seemingly the only formal criteria for partaking into the community from within the sphere of social media. In other words, the community centered around the hashtag does not define itself on the basis of traditional anthropocentric identity markers, such as ethnicity, location, religion, nor other commonly used criteria in the physical social world. Furthermore, there is no system of hierarchy. Rather, there is transgressional unification through the idea that the hashtag refers to. Another interesting trait of these communities is that they are composed by sets of algorithms implying a set of practical rules and limitations, which determine the confines of the community to some degree, as opposed to the socio-political regulations that define anthropocentric communities. Examples of communities developed with hashtags are often related to social movements, such as the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement, where there is an inherent interest of educating and expanding the community about the topic in order to enforce it in physical communities. With this, it can be observed that the streams within the community of the hashtag reshape the anthropocentric communities. Certainly because following a hashtag is first and foremost a commitment, whilst the formal criteria of the physical world does not promote a similar loyalty to an idea itself. Moreover, there is an inherent flexibility and fluidity provided by the lack of physical constraints, which is a powerful tool in enforcing ideas into traditional communities. However, the strong sense of an idea also creates what is called cancel culture, where internet users or avatars of people are discredited instantly and harshly if they are found to be contradicting the idea of the hashtag community. In this phenomena, the human aspect of forgiveness and atonement is not considered, which tells of a post-anthropocentric desensitivity. The effect seems to be a reduction to avatars participating in lawless communities. Communities where identities can simply be erased and opinions expressed through the lens of algorithms is law. As a consequence, we can ask ourselves how we can be represented in these cyber communities. Furthermore, will the collection of big data tracing behaviors on social media keep strengthening the communities of our cyber data doubles?
Next topic is artificial intelligence and community. In our fast-growing, appealant, and contemporary society, as one of the possible ways of incorporating cybers and consequently formation of posthumanism is the development of artificial intelligence. This development occurs on such an advanced level when it could autonomously function without human intervention. The University of Reading stated that artificial intelligence is free of boundaries of gender difference. As the statement seems very promising and dogmatical, we can find the evidence needed and examples of pros and cons in science fiction. Basically, one prominent example is the movie Her. By analyzing it, we observed the progressive implementation of an artificial intelligence into daily private life of the post-human society. The plot is based on the story of a man who installed an operating system as a virtual assistant personified through the female voice. The main character falls in love with this artificial intelligence and rejects all possibilities to have a story with a real woman. The upshot of the story comes to the end with the total desperation of the man who finds out that this artificial intelligence serves to other hundreds of users to whom it makes a love confession to. Moreover, it is personalized according to the owner's preferences, so everyone can have this operation system with different gender features. This example provokes ethical questions, not only about intimacy and privacy of the relationships in post-human society, because your private life could be influenced or observed from the outside by the creator, but also it is questioning the morality of such interconnection between an artificial intelligence and human, because it is imposing you to share your so-called cyber partner with other users of this operational system. Besides that, initially it has no defined gender, and you are allowed to shape it as you want. So therefore, it has no identity. Further considerations about the possibility of the creating virtual community brings us to the conclusions that gender unbiased artificial intelligence could totally replace the emotional element and consequently cannot give the human the same output. At the same time, in a long-term perspective, if and when the post-human society would change the generation, feelings and habits that evoked by real human interconnection would have faded and the brand new post-humanism cyber era would emerge.
And now we'll present to you the topic of post-human identity. The word community is derived from the Latin communitas, fellowship, which in turn is derived from communis, or common. The prefix com signifies with, together, in conjunction, joined. Removing the com from the Latin leaves you with munis, which derives from munire, meaning to fortify, strengthen, or defend. In other words, it means that when something is joined together, it becomes stronger. Community and cyber, therefore, are the example of communis. While community is a group of people who are joined by similar interests and ideas and whose voice becomes louder when it is collective, the cyborg is a mechanically enhanced or altered human being whose abilities are strengthened because of its unification with technological tools. Discussing the idea of community in the lines with our course of gender studies allows for an analysis of the idea of cyborgs and how it influences the way in which people behave and communicate with each other. Community is built of the so-called individuals. However, it can be said that today of cyborgs. The fact that we are cyborgs influences the way we interact with each other. As opposed to the common Western static idea of the I identity, the cyborg theory allows for further interpretation of what is human by nature. It questions, therefore, whether human is innately anything by nature, or rather we are a subject of social construction. The idea of the cyborg challenges the staticism of the I by allowing the human to co-join with technology, thus contributing to the constant change of its identity and behaviors. In this way, the technology can be seen as an extension to human and as an important tool for survival. For this reason, cyborg can be placed on the evolution timeline. As our bodies adapt to the modern day lifestyle, the behaviors and the ways in which we are human changes. Without necessarily being a part of static, limiting social category such as a man or a woman, the humans who are cyborgs are allowed to explore their malleability and adaptation to various circumstances and escape the expectations of the social environments in which we live. A human co-joined with technology is therefore an enhanced human who is experiencing new potential advances. So now going on to the second picture. This picture shows the ultimate blurring of boundaries between humans, animals, and technology. On the drawing, human faces are shaped by the branches of trees, which suggests the ultimate conclusion of the human being a part of nature. It can here be attributed to the fact that without trees, human would not exist, since there would be no oxygens for them generated by the trees. The birds which place themselves on the branches of the trees further represents the blurring of boundaries between the two species and suggests the importance of interconnectedness between the humans and animals. In this way, rather than perceiving human and animal as species boundaries, it can rather be seen as a system of interconnected coexisting categories. Lastly, the wires which are occupied by the birds as well as by the human shapes suggest the ultimate web of interconnectedness between different forms of life, including the mechanic one. In this way, the idea of cyborg contributes to the recognition of ourselves as humans who are not the masters of nature or technology. Rather than being a part of hierarchical, patriarchal, colonialistic dichotomies, humans can be seen as a part of the bigger picture where different types of species coexist. As a result, cyborg is an important symbol for feminism, since it helps to transgress the traditional lines of categorization. The idea of cyborg thus crosses the boundaries between organism and machine, and between genders, which contributes to the elimination of the separation between various constructed groups and suggests the place of ultimate connection between all forms of life. Thank you.